Hello everyone! Welcome back to Let's Play Great Ace Attorney! This is VDiffuser in our last episode. We learned a little bit more about the case, met with Tobias Gregson, and met Iris Wilson. It's time for us to go get some further investigation taken care of. So yesterday, Mr. Sholmes apprehended the Japanese man, you were saying. Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage, but the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. The great detective's a popular man, it seems. Apparently a woman was stabbed in a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking, stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking, stooped man. Mr. Natsume beyond any doubt. Sosuke said he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley used his great detective powers to determine the man's address. There was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man, shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time. Of course it did. He's a great detective. Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely. We've no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London's rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it apparently. Oh dear. I hadn't realized the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Staff and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That's terrible! I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system. I suppose it is. In that case, I don't hold out much hope for Sosuke-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Oh well. I suspect Hurley's still investigating the scene. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Natsume? Hurley said he was going to help to the men's lodgings. If you leave now, you'll probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Do you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you were there? Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Oh, goody. In that case, give Gregsy this from me, will you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to. Are you bribing police? A 10-year-old bribing the police to do what they want? That is funny. And a little sad. And a little scary. What's this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. 5 shillings is actually a fair amount of money at this day and age. It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea. So come back again soon. We'll be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over this men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in my hand. Strike again. Yeah, we're saving. Alright, part 2. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation. Perfect, so let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible. Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. Police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling if we wander too close, we'll be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs, despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favors at all. What a delightful snowman. I didn't realize the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy, though. Oh, it has a scarf. Look. You'd need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment, too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his. But the person who made the snowman certainly would. Yes, I know, you're right. Anyway, even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Alright, let's present. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say it, Dan. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gadabouts, that's for sure. Leave these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson. What? For me? From her ladyship. Her ladyship? Give me that here! At once! Come on, get it over. That's for me. Ah, don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously. But it's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee. That's what it is. An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean... That's right. For the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me. Every time. Yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly. Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes. But still... Sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. Never you mind about that. So, what do you want to know about, then? Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings. Oh, the little knife-wielding, mustached Japanese fellow. He lives in a right old hovel. It's just over there, look. On the first floor of that house in the corner, with a wreck of the bicycles propped up. That is nearby indeed. If I remember rightly, the landlord is Mr. John Garrideb. Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her hot ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes. Don't worry, Inspector, we will. Goodbye for now, then. Long live her ladyship. Well, that was quick. He told me what I wanted to know before he left. So then, shall we go and see what we can find at Mr. Natsume's lodgings? Definitely. Alrighty. Jeez. There's a veteran living here. No, but a maid is. May I help you? Yes, would this be the residence of Mr. John Garadeb? Indeed, it would, sir. And who, may I say, is calling? My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Sosuke Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garadeb. Did you see that, Miss Susato? That was a real-life English maid. What, you mean like the one that we saw in the jury was a robot? I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. I say again, the maid we saw in the jury, was that a robot to you? It certainly feels like we've finally arrived now, doesn't it? We need only to meet a butler and the experience will be complete. Yes, yes, pip pip, cheerio. Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garadeb will see you now. This way. They look like Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright. Good day to you. John Garadeb at your service. Yeah, definitely Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright. Or is it Mrs. Shine and Mr. Bright? Oh, I can never remember who's who. Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer. Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knee a few years back in the Battle of Maiwan, don't you know? Well, as long as it's not an arrow. Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to the up-and-comings. So he's a retired soldier. It's a hell of a job getting up and down stairs, I can tell you. Don't get out much, as you can imagine. Yeah, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panning at the top of the stairs. You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo. You think so. Well, Mr. Garadeb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal. Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I just grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why'd you fetch it down, Joe? Let these good people see it properly. Joe, fetch the dice. Yay! Dash it all, woman! Be careful! Oh, dearie me! I do beg your pardon, sir. You Charlie nearly stuck the skin off my hands. And probably your unmentionables, too. Youch! I shall be more careful, sir. So anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now. Yes, I see. Well then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right? Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us.
Only to please, naturally. Especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blighty. We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. So this case is very much in the public eye, as it were.
Oh, is it?
You had some famous detective poking around, you know. In this old house, would you believe?
Yes, Mr. Harlock Sholmes.
Huh. Could have been. Didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business.
Oh, but you have a copy of Rant's magazine here, so...
No. Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak.
So he's in Sosuke-san's room.
It's about a nuisance, is what it is. The whole neighborhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's surely unsettling.
About Mr. Natsume then, Mr. Girardet. Please do tell us.
Oh yes, Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week.
Just 1 week? So he moved in very recently then?
I have 2 lodgers most of the time. One on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available a week, you see, they've been... Yay! Dash it all, Joan! Do be careful!
Oh, my goodness. I'm terribly sorry, sir.
If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him.
Well, those are definitely jiggle physics. Oh, why?
He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is troubled. Sooner or later he's going to do something untoward. And I'm really wrong about anything.
Well, we won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure. Don't jinx it, Ryunosuke. Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all?
Yes, oh yes, indeed there was.
And she's dying to tell us. Had you noticed anything else about your lodger, Mr. Natsume?
Oh my word, yes, the man was shadier than an orchard.
Could you elaborate?
Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone ever could read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to that old bookshop every single day, and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed too.
Oh, I see.
Gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
Ah. Well, he is learning English. Could you clarify something, I wonder?
What, pray?
How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine?
Oh!
I'd understand that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house, is that correct?
That's right, yes. They're both below us.
There is something you're not telling us.
On the first floor and the street level.
Then how is it you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? Precise times they come back in the evening, for example. Even the times they go to bed.
Good grief, Joan! Be more careful, woman!
Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir.
Something doesn't add up here. It seems that the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out of the window at around that time?
The window.
Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock is dinner time at the Kirby household, so I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan?
No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour. And with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh, I see. Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary then?
Such as?
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated.
Well...
Yes, was there something?
Well, there's nothing particularly significant about around that sort of finding here, then.
Yay!
For the love of God, Joan! Watch what you're doing!
Oh, dear me! What have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir.
You be more careful, woman!
Of course, sir.
Japanese comedy duo, these two.
If I may, Mr. Narrow-Hollow.
Yes?
I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really? Mr. Garrideb? The way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been.
Oh, well, as I was saying, I was just a traveling matter, really nothing... Don't hush it all! What is the matter with you, woman?
Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened.
She is trying to get him to not say something.
Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal. Joan?
That's right, Mr. Garrideb.
What is the matter with these two? It sounds like something happened in here in this room on something in the evening of the incident, but what? I wish I knew. Mr. Natsume's room. Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on?
Why, certainly. Just below us on the first floor.
And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there even as we speak?
Yes. Told me Nats's name had asked him to look into the matter. So I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume's engaged in Mr. Sholmes' service? That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if I also had a look around? In Mr. Natsume's room, I mean.
I don't see why not. It's just down one flight of stairs.
Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us in that case, but we'll have to try. We need all these clues we can lay our hand on, shall we? Yes, and while we're there, we can speak to Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more. Alrighty, I will be right back. It is actually lunchtime at the moment. So I will see you guys in just a little bit. Alright, we're back. That's a full-size cannon. What's it doing here? Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica.
Oh, that old thing. Bah, it's little more than a toy.
Some toy. Sorry.
The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never knew when the enemy might attack next. It's only useful to have a cannon about the house.
Yeah. Unless, of course, you happen to be named Mr. and Mrs. Banks. really, it isn't overkill.
Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy.
Do you think there might be trouble brewing, Mr. Gyarados?
Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry very well on the cannon here, Joan tells me.
Which rather proves my point, I fear. It's been reduced to drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. Oh, that's how you frigging look around? This window looks out over Briar Road where the young woman was attacked. I can make out all the policemen on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene. I can't see very clearly. Is this thing open at all, I wonder?
I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir.
Sorry?
As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you.
Seems very unlikely these two would have seen anything at the incident then. I'm going to be right back. I think I forgot something. That's my blackboard where I note down ideas. Black Peter? What does she mean? Oh, how intriguing. That must be the title of Iris' latest work. Oh my, I wonder what fantastic tale awaits us. Susato-san looks like an angel, but I bet she's dreaming of the most grisly crime you could imagine. It's a case that Hurley solved just recently. A black cat called Peter went missing in the neighborhood. Hurley tracked it down at the fishmongers in the end. Well, I can't wait for the story to be published. Really? That's it? Okay. I'll be right back then. Why am I pausing? I can just... go to Mr. Natsume's room. Jeez. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. Kitty. I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me either. It's so dark in here, too. Is that the window over there? Well, it was the window, I think. Yes, once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you? No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Gyarados told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating. Kitty! Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away. I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. It was a tricolor Mickey, wasn't it? We didn't have that sort of cat here in Great Britain. Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan. That's made me feel homesick now. Already, we've only been in the country for 2 days. Could you even call this a window? I think so. It was a window at one time after all. Although all that remains is a frame around some bricks now. So really it's just a wall then, isn't it? But why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that? I'm afraid I have no idea. Ah! Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design in a fleet of whimsy. That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes this place very oppressive. It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely trying. Yeah, it's a Maneki Neko. I actually have one of these. Oh look, it's a beckoning cat from home. It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that mannequin Echo all the way from Japan with him. I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll you brought in your luggage? Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm. I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him. It's not doing a very good job so far, isn't it? You mustn't say such things. I didn't say a word. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? Alright, where is he? That desk seems to be wedged into a crevice between the mountains of books on either side. I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit here and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes, and then he'll become the page master.
And remember, look to the books!
Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? I don't even see a bed. It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books. Good one. Mr. Natsume's name is on it, and the date of the purchase is 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident. That's just a short while before he was embroiled in a terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books. There he is. Ah! Look, Mr. Naruhodo. Aha! There he is. Where did he appear from? He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Shams. Ah, you two. Good day. Now let me see. Where was it that we met? Mr. Shams, we were together on the SS Burya. Yes, of course, the Burya. And let me see. What happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Sogi. He died, tragically. But you are a great help to us. Ah, yes. Of course, the case of Mr. Asogi. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it? Well, you seem to remember something of it, at least. What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr. Oh, no, my dear madam. Hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo and Mr. Susato. Other way around, genius. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. Ah ha ha ha! I lose the first round. In truth, I hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Sosuke-san in that short amount of time? I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past involvements a little. A little? It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet. Yeah, I have never actually read that one. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately my associate pens them beautifully. He means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Sholmes, we've some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you mentioned.
Goodness, what an earnest expression. Dear madam, I should only be too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case.
Alright. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Sosuke Natsume. It seems you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Briar Road. Natsume. Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines. Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little? I'm sorry, Miss Susato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean. What? I can't believe he was looking Susato squarely in the eye when feigning ignorance.
I assure you I'm not merely feigning ignorance. I am ignorant.
As if the pair of you are under some misapprehension. Oh, how?
I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your stupid compatriot of the crime.
But that doesn't make sense.
The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man fleeing the crime scene.
Oh, a man seen fleeing.
There were a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. And book plates was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question.
So you don't think that Mr. Natsume is the culprit then?
That I could not tell you. But it was an aggravating of my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books. I found myself quite lost in bibliophily. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure. No, no, no. No, 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 no. Oh dear.
Tell me, have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings?
Yes, Mr. Geradeb, a retired military man.
It was the first time I'd ever met a soldier from the Great British Institution, that is, the services. And it was the first time I've ever met a maid from the Great British Institution, that is, service.
I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid.
Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer.
And so conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein.
Betoken their social standing? Sorry?
Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that.
Wow.
In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family.
Goodness, how extraordinary.
As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the importance.
I had no idea.
And it is for precisely that reason I find great stimulation in this situation upstairs. Specifically in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Geradeb. Oh. Affable as he is, the fellow's hiding something.
So you sense it too.
Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am as yet unable to ascertain. I'm thoroughly lost on what it means to say. The dingy room. The room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow.
I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later. Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No window? Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax. Window tax? What? What is that? Surely not a tax on windows. Precisely that. Goodness! Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family homes, perhaps rapidly closed windows up, while the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere, in an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of money. How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light. Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So some 40 years ago, thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. But its legacy remains, as you see, in squalid lodgings, such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinary low price. Because the room is so awful, I should think. Apparently Mr. Natsume only moved here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, that is of little relevance here. It requires further attention. I'm curious. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intent to become a practitioner of law? You remember that, didn't you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well then I congratulate sir on an ambition realized. And so promptly, too. The thing is, it's really made me question things. Am I right to believe in my clients? To trust in their innocence? Yes. Trust. Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Some help you are. I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. I see. Nevertheless, there are two facts I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. One more thing. What is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us! I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it has any relevance to this case, but I'm quite sure the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Garadeb is? He's actually said as much before, didn't he? And we are going to find out. At present, that is really all that plays on in my mind in relation to the case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that can help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. You're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper in Mr. Gyarados' secret. And we will be doing that next time. I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo.